Hi, I'm Frank Turner and you are watching Soundsphere TV.
Hello guys and welcome to Soundsphere TV. We're here with the fantastic Frank Turner, chilling. How you doing, man?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm very good. It's warm today. It's nice looking.
It is. It was really miserably cold at the start of this tour, and now it's really warm, and no one knows what's going on with the weather. But yes, I'm wearing shorts. It's unusual for me.
Awesome stuff. So first question, what is keeping you passionate outside of music? It could be, films, people, art, anything like that.
I mean, I think people is the short answer, but that's a bit of a cop-out answer, I suppose. I mean, I sort of within music, and I'm getting on to answering your question, I promise. Within music, like every now and again, some old fart somewhere says that rock music's dead or something like that, and what they've done there is they've confused themselves with music, and it's like if you ever want to be inspired, just go and see some young bands playing in a new bands night. There you go, and end of discussion. And I think the same thing applies across the spectrum, really. I mean, I try and read widely, poetry and novels and that kind of thing. I've actually just started reading Amy Liptrot's memoir, The Outrun, which has just blown my mind already, and I'm only like a third of the way through it. But and watching films, all that kind of thing. Just try and sort of keep my mind open to human creative expression. But people have lots to say, and it's great.
Fantastic. What would you say you've learned about yourself since your days in Million Dead?
Many things. I mean, I think the main thing is that I think I've changed enormously. Well, grown might be the word, because that was all a long time ago now. I mean, Melinda broke up 13 years ago now. But yeah, I mean, I think that I like to think. Well, I mean, I think anyone in their late 30s is probably a little bit more self-aware than anyone in their early 20s. Do you know what I mean? So I've learned about how and where I'm capable of sleeping. I've learned about my weaknesses and my strengths, I suppose, a bit, but I'm still learning, like anyone.
Ah, cool, yeah. The title of the album, and obviously the track Be More Kind, has a very sort of anthemic, uplifting quality, and that continues throughout the album as well. Would you say that that's your sort of new mission statement, sort of uplift people?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think that music can be very uplifting. Music can be many different things. I mean, it's a powerful tool. I tend to write kind of positively inflected music. It's funny. Like I'm actually not perhaps quite as relentlessly positive as an individual as my music makes out. I just sort of don't necessarily see the point in talking about the negatives in art, or even just. I mean, if I write a song and put it in a record, I'm probably going to play it every day for at least 2 years. You know what I mean? And I don't really see the point in doing that with negative statements if there's no kind of silver lining to it in some way. But I mean, that's not to say that it's invalid to talk about negative things in music. Some of my favorite music is very sort of doom laden and downcast. But I mean, be more kind. In fact, going back to what we were talking about earlier, the title phrase, if you like, is borrowed from a poem by Clive James, who's one of my favourite writers. And when I read that a couple of years ago, I immediately just felt like I'd found the hook from which to hang the new record. So yeah, I mean, a mission statement, maybe. I mean, I don't think that the expression or the sentiment "be more kind" is going to save the world, but it strikes me as not a terrible place to start.
Cool stuff. So how would you define success as an artist these days?
Well, I mean,
It's a bit of a loaded
it is.
question,
No,
that
no, I
one,
mean,
isn't
no.
it?
I mean, it's one I think about a lot, actually. On the one hand, I mean, I don't have to have another job, so there's
That's
that.
always good.
I mean, not. But the thing is, I'm wary of saying that because, in the sense that, like, I don't think that people who do have other jobs are failures in music. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's not quite what I mean at all. But it is. It's nice that this is my living. And I'm proud of the fact that I full-time employ quite a lot of other people, and they're, people make a living and support their families through what I do, and that's really cool. I guess more esoterically, like more ephemerally, I suppose. Like success is like knowing that I'm sort of not repeating myself, not staying comfortable, that I'm doing the best I can to sort of be questing within my art. Do you know what I mean? I sort of don't want to say the same thing over and over again. I mean, it's easy to get kind of wrapped up in sort of things like record sales and in terms of judging success, and I don't really see the point in that. It's tempting, but I try my best to kind of avoid too much time thinking about that.
You touched on this in an earlier question, but people often say that you have to be really miserable to write a sort of very a good or an impactful punk song or hardcore sort
Yeah.
of song. Would you agree with that? Or not?
No, not really. I mean, I think that betrays quite a sort of limited vision of what art can do, and it also ignores the existence of posiecore as a genre. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think that in the sense that art is in large degree about empathy, is about sharing, sort of demonstrating that you're not isolated as a human, that you're not atomized, and that there people have things in common. If that's one of the most powerful things art does, that's most useful when we're having a bad time. Do you know what I mean? Because if you're having a good time, you're unlikely to sort of need as much that sort of connection with other people. But I think art can do anything you want it to do, really. Actually, almost, I guess, I suppose it might be. One might say it might be harder to make art if you're trying to write about things other than sort of connection and desperation. But that doesn't mean it's not there. I don't know. I mean, like, and having said all that, I mean, this is a record that is very much about bad times, which I think that we're entering.
Yeah, I noticed a few political undertones and things in
Yeah.
there as well. A couple of Trump references and stuff. Do you
Yeah.
care to comment on any of
Yeah,
those?
I mean, well, you can't put out a record with a song called "Make America Great Again" and not comment on it. I mean, I hesitate to call it a political album, not because I have a problem with political music, and but it's not a Rise Against album. It's not a Billy Bragg record or whatever. It's I suppose the word I've been using is kind of more of a social record, by which I mean it's a record that's about how we interact with each other at times of political strife. Is how I see it, I suppose. Although who knows, times change. But yeah, it seems like it's about, because I mean, one of my main preoccupations, I think a lot of the record's about, is that we've forgotten how to disagree with each other intelligently, and it shocks and surprises people sometimes to remind them that the purpose of political debate is supposed to be to win people over to your side. It's not supposed to be to character assassinate people you disagree with, and you point that out, and the entirety of Twitter goes no. And it's like, when was the last time you saw anyone on Twitter even trying to win people over to their side of the argument? It's not how social media is calibrated, and I think that's a huge problem. And I think that I think everything like Trump and Brexit and in the wider world, things happening in Hungary or wherever, I think a lot of these things have to do with their symptoms. I think Trump is a symptom of the fact that social media is kind of revolutionizing and confusing the way that we communicate with each other.
Cool, awesome. With that in mind, what would you like your legacy to be?
Well, I'm not going to be around, so who gives a fuck? No, but I mean, I don't really mean that. I mean, I think that I like to think that I've kind of grown out of the whole sort of monumentalism that I think sort of corrupts quite a lot of people, particularly the young. The idea that you want to die and leave statues of yourself behind or whatever. Every now and again, like, I'm in a room with a bunch of people, and somebody who's not there comes up in conversation. And every now and again, when someone comes up in conversation, every single person in the room is like, that guy's a fucking diamond. And I'd like to be remembered like that. I'd like, after I'm gone, there to be a room full of people who just agree that I did my best to be a decent human. Whether or not I'll pull that off is another question. But do you know what I mean? It's like, I'll go right ahead and give you the example I'm thinking of, actually. Like Ben Marwood, I don't know if you've heard of the songwriter Next Smile. Every time anyone mentions Ben Marwood, literally every single person goes, God damn it, I love Ben Marwood. He's such a nice dude. And I'd love to have a sort of legacy like that.
Fantastic. So we are in Hull right now.
Yes.
It's not typically a great media machine for sort of new artists. Do you have any advice for new artists up and coming?
Yeah, I mean, I think I mean, I could sort of talk about things to a degree for a long time. It's worth saying with the caveat that, like, a lot of the early parts of my career were 10, 12 years ago, and things are changing so fast now that I don't want to sit here and pretend that I know everything about what it's like to be a new artist in 2018. Having said that, I think one of the things is that, like, no one really has any idea what's going on in the music industry right now. It's complete sort of free-for-all, and that's, I think, to the advantage of bands. And that, plus the fact the internet can be such a powerful communication tool, you can just kind of make your own luck. You can make your own rules, and the higher-ups, if you like, who, first of all, are less powerful than they used to be, but to the extent they do have power, they're sort of chasing younger people with ideas. So make your own luck, and love it. There's no point in doing any of this, because there are terrible, shitty days of being a musician, and you don't get paid much, and you don't ever see your friends, and you have to learn how to sleep on the floor for years at a time. And all that's completely fine if you're doing something that you love.
Yeah.
But if you don't, then just don't bother. So just love it. Just make sure you love it.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much. That's fantastic advice.
Cool.
Good luck with the show.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.